Okay, so let's see the another question on para summary. So what does it say? So it says that the weight of society's expectation is hardly a new phenomenon, but it has become particularly draining over recent decades, perhaps because expectations themselves are so multifarious and contradictory, right? So they say that in a very simple sentence, sentence says that the people feel pressurized by what society expect, okay, and they say that it is not hardly a new phenomenon. That means that it is not something that just started recently, okay. It's been around for a very long period of a time, and then they say that lately what is the issue is that these pressures feel more exhausting, okay, because there are so many multifarious, or you can say that there are many different and conflicting expectations, okay. So that is the author is saying here. Now, the perfectionism of the 1950s was rooted in the norms of mass culture and captured in famous advertising images of the ideal white American family that now seems satirizing. Okay. Now, the case is that they say that in the 1950s, there was an idea of the perfect family, and it came from a mainstream cultural programs and an advertisements, okay, that showed a single model of the perfect family images that today look almost like they're kind of mocking themselves, okay. Now, in that era, perfectionism meant seamlessly conforming to values, behaviors, and appearance, chiseled confidence for man, demure graciousness for women. So they say that in the past, okay, back then, being perfect mean fitting exactly into the prescribed roles and the looks, okay. For example, men needed to be confident, strong, okay, and the women needs to be, you can say, here, no, women needs to be graciousness. So that means that she needs to be polite, modest, etc. Now, the perfectionist was under pressure to look like everyone else, only more so. Okay. So they say that the people were expected to look like a common ideal. Okay. But even more polished than the average person. Now, the perfectionist of today, by contrast, feel an obligation to stand out throughout their idiosyncratic style and wit if they are to gain a foothold in the attention economy. Okay. Now, today they say that the version of the perfectionism is different. Okay. People feel that they must be unique, they must actually stand out, okay, and show personality, okay, or cleverness, so that they are getting the attention, okay, in a valuable uh, in a I mean, like, we could say that in a world where attention is a valuable currency, okay. So that is what this particular paragraph is saying. Right now, let's get into the options. Now, though long standing, the pressure to appear perfect and thereby attract attention has evolved over time from one of the conformism to one of the non-conformism. That's indeed the correct answer. Okay. So option says A says that the pressure to appear perfect, through though long standing, the pressure to appear perfect and thereby attract attention has evolved over time. Okay. So has evolved over time is exactly the correct, no. Now, why evolve is correct? Because this is what exactly the passage is saying. So they say that 1950s में क्या होता था कि ideal जो थे, they demanded conformity to a single image, okay. Whereas today people feel that they must actually stand out with idiosyncrasy to succeed in the attention economy. So the passage contrasts the two eras directly, okay. So has evolved is absolutely correct. From one of conformism is that you need to do the way, okay, seamlessly conforming to values, okay, to non-conformism, to that means that you need to stand out. So perfect paraphrasing, okay. Let's see what are the problem with the other options. Now, the pressure to appear perfect has been the cause of tension and conflict because the idea itself has been in a state of flux and hard to define, okay. Now, the B says that the pressure causes tension, okay. So the pressure to appear perfect has the cause of tension, okay. Now, because the idea of the perfection is in a state of flux and hard to define, okay. But the passage does say that the expectations are multifarious and contradictory, okay. But its main point is not that it kinds of creates a state of flux or a state of confusion, okay. So that's not the cause of the tension, okay. And secondly, it is describing how expectations have changed from, I mean, like, over the time, from focusing on conformism to the non-conformism, which is being missed here. Okay, so a couple of issues in the B as a summary key has been the cause of tension and conflict. So, ye cause of tension and conflict Chalo, in case if we I like assume this also, okay, because the idea itself has been in a state of flux, okay, and hard to define. So this is not what the main theme of the passage is all about, right? So let's actually see what is the problem with the option number C. So the desire to attract attention is so deep rooted in individual consciousness that people are willing to go any lengths to achieve it. Okay, now this actually overstates the passage. Okay, it says that the people are willing to go any length to attract attention. The passage does not claim that they are taking the limitless measures. Okay, it just describes the shift of what is expected to from a conformity to being a standout. Not that everyone will do absolutely anything to succeed. So very broad generalization and something that is not being given. Now the image of perfectionism is reflected in and perpetuated by the media. People do their best to adhere to these ideals. Now, again, the problem here is that it's correctly reflecting that the perfectionism is reflected and perpetuated by the media. Okay, and the people try to follow those ideals. While the passage does mention about the advertising images from the 1950, okay, but again, it is just only one example used to show what perfectionists look in the era of 1950s. Okay, the passage main argument is the change which even the D is actually missing about, rather than just focusing on media driven imitation, which is actually incomplete and hence not the answer.